This is Johnny with TigerBomb MMA, and I recently got an email sent to me at tigerbombmma@gmail.com from a fan by the name of Derrick, and he wrote me saying, "Hi, my name is Derrick. I am a fan of the channel, and I always wondered why you don't have a larger base. Simple, I don't advertise." But he goes on to say, "I think you're funny and you come off as likable, and I want to see you do well. So I wrote down some suggestions that could potentially help you get more subscribers." So I thought to myself, took the time to write me, I'm going to take the time to actually try out his suggestions. So, number one, he says, everyone likes an origin story. Tell the audience a true story about what got you interested in MMA and how it benefited your life. Well, for one, it benefited my life for a few reasons. Number one, I'm doing a channel on the internet. And what got me into MMA, when I was 17 years old, me and my then girlfriend were hanging out at a bus stop as she was going to get picked up. And at that point, some guys jumped us and they beat the absolute piss out of me, to the point that I thought afterwards, you know what? I need to learn how to fight. And MMA just happened to be showing late at night. I think it was like a Forrest Griffin fight. And I'm like, I like this. I want to try this. I like this a lot. What I learned from it, though, that ass whooping that is that I can take a kick to the face like nobody's business. Good old Timberland to the chin. Ain't no problem for me. Number two, Halloween is coming up. You can separate yourself by dressing up as your favorite superhero during the videos. Thank you, Derrick. It indicates that you're probably 8 years old. Maybe you shouldn't be watching these videos, but I have to decline. I don't think I want to degrade myself, unfortunately, by dressing up as a superhero. The next suggestion, it says here, the MMA prediction market is flooded with hypermasculine, toxic men. I guess you might be a very effeminate 8-year-old. It would be nice if someone were on the internet who was a bit more softer. I'm assuming you want me to act a little bit more gay, so let's try that. This is Johnny with TigerBomb MMA, and today I am going to tell you all about my favorite MMA fighter, Belal Muhammad. And then finally he says, I don't know, get a co-host. This is Human Fly with TigerBomb MMA, and tonight I am going over UFC Fight Night Almeida versus Lewis. I have a special guest tonight. Let me take this shit off. This is killing me. Halloween is fun. But I have a special guest tonight. Haven't seen this person in a while, and we had our differences in the past, but I think as of late, we've kind of mended our fences, so I'm glad to have this person back. And here they are. No, not you. This fucking guy again. Go away. Oh, God. Not you. All right. No, here's the real person back from the dead. Jose, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm glad to have you back.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. Feels like if last time we recorded it was like years ago.
It was some time ago, yeah. So most people don't know who you are. So if you want to let them know who you are as I am changing out of the stupid getup.
Yeah. Well, basically I'm a nobody. And then I ran into kind of a few roadblocks that prevented me from recording. Yeah, now I guess I'm back. I don't know about for good, but I'm back for now.
Oh, God damn. Did you see any of the idiocracy that I was doing during the intro? Did you see any of that? Me as the fly?
Yeah.
Damn. Not many people are going to understand that reference, though. That's the funny thing about it. Unless you're like 30-something, you'll be like, oh, I remember that from that one episode of The Simpsons. But yeah, dude, we'll be breaking down Almeida versus Lewis. It's an interesting card. It like kind of snuck up on me. I know it snuck up on you mainly because like you mentioned that you haven't really been paying attention since you've been kind of working a lot, being the reason why you haven't really been back. You've kind of been taking your time working. At the time, you were doing God's work. I don't know about now.
Yeah, now I'm trying to get back to it, but um, yeah, let's just say, I know you mentioned it before, how but I'm actually hoping Arizona wins the World Series at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been kind of a very low key Arizona fan. Like I told you secretly as well that like, hey, Arizona, these last few like years, they suck, right? They suck real bad, but they never quit. They never stop playing hard. So I'm like, it's like the little brother that one day is like sick of your shit and he actually pops you in the mouth. Like you don't like it, but you're like, hey, you respect it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting World Series. I'll say that it's the Rangers versus the Arizona Diamondbacks. But yeah, dude,
Yeah,
the
more so.
card.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah, I
go
don't
ahead.
want to talk about baseball. I was gonna say the card. Like you mentioned that you hadn't really done too much research on it, so I'm gonna need your unprofessional opinion on a lot of these guys. There's a lot of people that I know you don't know because like I didn't know who the fuck they were. But
Yeah.
uh, but before we do that, I usually break down the previous card and how I did on that overall because it's UFC 294, and I don't know if you watched that at all. Volkanovski and Makhachev too.
Mm, I
You
saw
saw
some
the head kick though.
highlights. Yeah, I saw the head kick. Saw a few other highlights. Um, but yeah, didn't really, see too much of it.
Well, now I have someone to talk to it about. So I'm going to tell you how I did. I think I went like overall, like out of the 13 bouts, I went like 11 and 2, but some of those fights were like no contest, so I'm counting them as like, so what, that would be 13, 11. I went 9 for 11. So
Yeah.
first fight, Shara Magomedov versus Bruno Silva. I bet a little bit of money on Bruno Silva, but he did exactly what I expected him to, and that was underperform. Shira Magomedov, he's a good kicker, but he can't stuff a takedown, even though his last name is Magomedov and he's Russian. You have to see this dude. He's kind of like a hyped up prospect, Shira Magomedov, and he has one eye, so he's like the I don't even want to call him the Bisbing of the division because like Bisbing actually could stuff takedowns. This guy cannot stuff takedowns, so it is what it is, but he did exactly kind of what I expected him to, and that was win by decision, just throwing a shit ton of kicks. And then
Mm.
Victoria Dudakova defeated Jin Yu Fry. Yes, the Jin Yu Fry that we love to this day. People say she has a big forehead, but I find that shit like disrespectful because to me, a big forehead means you got more surface area to like, you know, you know. But yeah, Dudakova, her striking looked good. I thought her striking overall looked like shit prior to this fight, but she did what she had to do. She's not the prospect I don't think people think she is. I think she's a little too hyped. She was like minus 400 against Jin Yu Frey, and Jin Yu Frey arguably. Uh, no, I don't even want to say arguably. She lost that fight, but like she stole around from Dudakova. Then Muhammad Naimov defeated Nathaniel Wood. Nathaniel Wood, a 135er, moved up to 145. Jose, he's kind of a short dude, but he's a really good, solid fighter. He was like minus 300 against this kind of a nobody, Muhammad Naimov.
Hmm.
A lot of people had Naimov as a good dog. I thought it was bullshit, but Naimov ended up pulling it out of his ass because he ended up nut checking Wood multiple times. He cheated throughout the whole fight. But the thing
Oh
is,
man.
regardless of that, he still won. So if you had money on him, good for you. I thought Wood looked okay, but you can definitely tell that the nut shots really affected him because he was giving up takedowns to this roided out Muhammad Naimov, which is makes sense because I think he's training at elevation with Usman, which he also fought on this card. So yeah, I was a little disappointed in Wood, but then again, what are you going to do when you're getting nut shot like that? The one fight that I'm super proud of because like I took Makhachev, not took him, I took Volkanovski to win, almost like a prideful bet, like one of those. I know Volkanovski's probably going to lose, but because I love Volkanovski, I'm going to pick him. So because of that, I picked Mike Breeden, who was like a pretty significant underdog to beat Anshul Jubli. I specifically kept telling people like Jubli fucking sucks, right? He's just kind of an athletic Indian, which is, as one person I think a good friend, PayPal My Money, said that's an oxymoron. But you saw what happens when you kind of disrespect a fighter, when you call a fighter a bum or he's a regional fighter like Mike Breeden. Dude, Mike Breeden, he's from Kansas City. He he fights well. He's a good fighter, but he's kind of like he's got nothing special, but he showed something special in this fight because in the third round, after losing 2 rounds to Jubilee, who's this overhyped minus nearly 500 Indian prospect, round 3, Mike Breeden, and I'm not exaggerating, started barking at this guy like arf arf, and he just fucking froze him. And the guy's like, "What the fuck is going on?" So he's barking at him, and then he ends up knocking him out. So I was like, well, who's the fucking idiot now? Not me. So I was pretty happy. I was fucking hyped, dude. It was like, maybe 9 in the morning. I'm fucking screaming. The dogs are all waking up. Like Mike Breeden knocking out this Indian was like the highlight of my day that day. Then Sidikris Dumas defeated Abubu Azaitar. It was a nothing fight. Sidikris kind of looked like he was, phoning it in a little bit. He didn't seem like he knew what the fuck he was doing. Terrible performance from both, but I will give it to Azaitar, even though he's like, 40 years old, he at least tried to win a fight. Sidikris didn't really look like he was interested in winning. And then Javid Basharat, kind of super hyped versus Victor Henry, who is the prodigy pupil of Josh Barnett, ended in a no contest. What's funny about this fight is that Victor Henry got hit in the nuts a couple times. He got one kind of like borderline where Basharat, it hit the cup and then it bounced to the leg, the kick. So it doesn't really look clean, but as you go back, it looks like it actually nut checked him. Victor Henry's on the ground like in pain, like screaming to the heavens that like his dick and balls are gone. The doctor comes in. The doctor says it didn't hit you in the dick and balls, and then Victor Henry's like, it's all dick and balls. So it was like it was a funny moment. But the funniest shit about this whole thing is that Basharat and his team went full fucking retard, saying it didn't hit him in the balls. He's faking. And I'm like, Victor Henry, you can say a lot of things about Victor Henry, but the guy's not a faker. He's not going to go out there and like pretend to get his dick and balls hit. He over exaggerated. It looked like he was in a ton of pain. Like no man would go to that much trouble to overact like that, I'll just say. But yeah, Basharat and his team kind of made me like, like that. Trevor Peek defeats Muhammad Yahya. Muhammad Yahya, I'm surprised he didn't get knocked out because Muhammad Yahya sucks. Trevor Peek didn't look great. I think I even wrote like on Twitter at TigerBomb MMA, by the way, that if Trevor Peek doesn't bite the jugular of Muhammad Yahya after viciously knocking him out, he's a fucking fraud. So he didn't do that, so he's a fucking fraud. Mohamed Mokaev defeated Tim Elliott. I know some people had Tim Elliott as the pretty good dog because Mohamed was like minus 400. Mohamed, I guess on the scorecards, was losing 2-1 to Tim, but it didn't really look that way. But my whole thing about Mokaev is that the guy is legit and he is going to find a way to win. Had this gone to a decision, he would have lost this fight on paper because Tim found a way to like use his funky wrestling style. I had a bunch of jokes because I don't know if you've kind of been around, but Tim Elliott, he was married to a UFC fighter named Gina Mazzani, who Tim Elliott's best friend was another former UFC fighter named Kevin Kroom, who they all trained with James Krause out in Missouri, who had a pal who was, the hell's his name? Jeff Molina. So they had like a whole little family dynamic. Tim Elliott married Gina Mazzani. Gina Mazzani cheats on Tim Elliott with Kevin Kroom. And then James Krause and Jeff Molina get indicted for like gambling scam. And then you find out that Jeff Molina likes sucking dick. So like things were not going well for Tim Elliott. So because of that, I'm just like, Tim Elliott's not in the right headspace right at this time, but he looked pretty damn good in this fight overall, though. Like he got submitted in the third round. It's kind of like tough not to really appreciate what Tim Elliott did in that fight. He's a sneaky bastard, but Mokaev, he keeps showing that he is kind of the real deal. Like I counted him out. I do see a loss coming eventually, but at this time he finds a way to win. Said Nurmagomedov easily chokes out Muin Gafarov. I mean, Gafarov to me, he's a solid fighter, but he's a little like, I don't know, like, what's the proper way to describe Muin Gafarov? He is kind of like Justin Gaethje, but like, he's kind of like Justin Gaethje, but without a jab. He kind of goes wild in there. And he got caught with the guillotine. That's all I have to say. Ikram Alaskirov, another guy I know you don't know. He knocked out Warley Alves. I keep mentioning how Ikram Aliskerov's jab is like his 1-2 is significant. Like it's pretty good. He actually drops Warley with a jab, and I'm like, where's the 2? I saw the 1. I need the 2. He ended up flying kneeing him until he like knocked him out with punches. Magomed Ankalaev defeats Johnny Walker. Or no, he didn't defeat him. That was a no contest, an accidental knee, which was not accidental. I don't even want to talk about it. The referee that said that Victor Henry's dick and balls didn't get hit, he said that Johnny Walker was in no condition to fight, even though Johnny Walker's standing there perfectly fine, blowing his nose, like kind of expecting, well, let's get back to business. And the ref apparently asked him, where are we right now? And then Johnny Walker, because he's a mega Chad, he says, in the desert, because they're in Abu Dhabi. And I guess the doctor's like, well, that's not a significant answer for me. So he's like, no, he's in no condition to fight. So they call off the fight. And then Johnny Walker's like, okay, I guess that's a signal. This is the signal for let's continue to fight. So he goes after Magomed Ankalaev. It was fucking stupid. Hamzat Chimaev defeats Kamaru Usman. Could have been a draw. Not for me, though. It was a clear 2-1 for Chimaev. The first round was a 10-8. Chimaev looked like shit. Usman looked pretty good at 185. And yeah, not really much to say about that. Like Chimaev does not seem to be the ultimate killer that we thought he was. And then Islam Makhachev defeats Alexander Volkanovski and ruined my life by knocking him out with that head kick. It was devastating. It was a really, as much as I don't like Islam, like I can't shit on the technique. That was absolutely like picture perfect. He attacked the body very well and then just sliced the top of his head, because you can see Volkanovski was like ducking down a bit to block the body kick, but then even though he had his hand up to block the head kick, it still kind of ricocheted and hit him at the top of the head. So it was like, damn, Islam, that was legit. So I got that one wrong, and then I got which one wrong? Nathaniel Wood wrong. So it was like, whatever. So right now, dude, I'm like at a 67.67% prediction rate. Like I'm nearly at 70% accuracy. So my goal is to get 70% accuracy. Realistically, I don't give a fuck about that, because it's more about like, as long as I'm making money, I can get fucking 50% right or 40% right. As long as the ones that I'm winning, I'm the betting on. So I've had the issues in the past where I'm like, duh, I'm gonna bet on fucking Alexander and all of it, instead of like betting guys that I know are gonna win, like fucking Sadiq Dumas, like stupid shit like that. But let's get started so we can actually have you talk about Almeida versus Lewis. So first fight of the night, we've got lightweight newcomer Gaui Fernandes versus Mike Diakiese. Do you remember Mark Diakiese at all? Because he's like a -200 right now.
Sounds, I believe so, yeah.
So
I think I probably lost money on him at some point.
We've all lost money on this idiot. So he's -200 compared to the +165 of newcomer Gaui Fernandes. So to mention, this is in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So judges' scorecards are already marked with like 10 nines in the first round or the third round for the Brazilian fighters. So what I noticed about Gaui is that he's from Nova União. He's all right. Ooh, excuse me. He's all right. Black belt in jiu-jitsu. Decent enough striking. He's got a wide stance, so like leg kicks are there for him to get clipped. I think he has some cardio issues. Like he can get finishes, he can get knockouts. He's wily off of his back. He's a dangerous fighter, but there's ways to beat this guy. And I think a guy like Mark Diakiese, although I think he's kind of stupid, that's putting it lightly, right? I think he can find a way to lose a fight. At -200, to me, it's not really worth betting, but I'm going to pick Diakiese to win this one by a decision. What I think he's going to do, because Diakiese is a very explosive fighter. He can throw a lot of hard punches, a lot of hard kicks. He moves very fast, but sometimes I think he makes a lot of stupid mistakes where he lets himself get submitted. I will say his last fight, he fought Joel Alvarez. I'm going to give him some slack. He did get submitted there, but he did get kind of clipped in the back of the head. It's just that he didn't fight back. He kind of allowed himself at that point to like accept the reality that he's getting screwed. Thus, the submission's coming, so might as well just give it up. So I'm worried that he can do something like that again. Hence, he's not really worth betting, especially against like a newcomer who we don't know if he's going to be roided up in Brazil. So I'll stay away from it, but I'll pick Diakiese kind of to out-grapple him, to maybe drop the first round, because no matter what, he already did, because the judges already have it for Fernandes. So I'll pick Diakiese to win this one by decision, just kind of kick his legs a little bit, move around, get takedowns, avoid getting submitted. Because I think on top, his submission defense game is not too bad. He just has to be careful not to get reversed or to allow Fernandes to kind of get his rhythm or really allow him to keep his cardio. I think if you push him hard enough, you will eventually like gas him out. So I'll go with Diakiese by decision.
Yeah, this one's a tough one. I mean, betting wise, probably stay away from it because Diakiese, even when he is the favorite, um, he's not. Yeah, man, you're gonna lose money on this guy, especially because he's, black guy dyeing his hair blonde. Never a good sign.
And he's British.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even worse. Yeah, the other guy, I don't know. I mean, if Diakiese's having the submission, getting choked out. Uh, yeah, I mean, this guy could, come in and, surprise everybody. And yeah, you don't really know, which way this is gonna go. The guy might be like, very trigger happy and just go in and rear naked choke his ass in the first round or something. Um, yeah, just based off of, again, I'm pretty rusty and I'm coming into this very last minute. So just based off of the pictures, I'm actually going with Coway, because it is in Brazil. And yeah, I mean, Mark, Diakiese is going to have to do a lot. If he tries to like just put it into cruise control and, do a few leg kicks, a few strikes per round, they're going to give it to the other guy. It's just, it's how it is in Brazil. They're going to give
Yeah.
it to him, especially if Coway comes in all like super like pumped and, cheering for himself and like, if he's like jumping up and down like by the third round, if it goes that far and they're like, oh yeah, this guy obviously won. So yeah, not a good betting spot because chances are Diakiese is not going to finish him by strikes or submission or any which way.
Yeah, Coway is surprisingly pretty tough. Like his one loss, he looked absolutely kind of shitty after gassing out. Like he to me seems like a round one fighter or bust in a
Hmm.
way. Not particularly. It's more of like if you allow him to, and I'll talk more about another fighter similar to this, but if you allow him to have his way with you, if you allow him to control you, have his fight, he's going to look like a great cardio machine. Just if you push him, I think he will eventually slow down, and there's going to be opportunities for Diakiese to actually implement his style, which is like right now he's kind of more of a grappler. He's gotten pretty good at wrestling, surprisingly. So if he can do that, just out wrestle Fernandes and not get caught, I think he's going to undoubtedly win this fight, at least 29-28.
Possibly. I mean, he's gonna have to like, you know, like really, I don't know, make the strikes very, like make them pop or something. I don't know. It's weird. It's, maybe not hard strikes, but make the crowd go like ooh or ah or something.
No,
Kind of
yeah,
get the crowd
Brazilians,
and
they're not going
crowd.
to cheer for.
No,
He
that's
could
what I'm saying.
he could snap his neck like in this super cool what's his name? God, what the fuck is his name? Steven
Leo
Seagal
Gan.
type of way.
Oh,
And the crowd will still be like, boo. Well, then again, they just witnessed a murder, so maybe they will boo. But I'm just saying they will not be cheering for anything other than like a Cowie Fernandes win. If Cowie wins this fight, super boring, they'll still be fucking cheering because they're racist.
yeah, probably. That's true.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next fight, which is Montserrat Conejo Ruiz, the Mexican. Ugh, I hate her so fucking much. Versus Eduarda Moura, who is a heavy favorite, minus 400 compared to the plus 310 for Ruiz. So Moura, she made her more or less UFC debut in the Contender Series. She's pretty tall. She trains with the headliner, Jailton Almeida. They fight pretty similarly. Once they get you to the mat, well, at least she's pretty good at obviously getting a submission. She's good at control because she's so big. She actually has a good ground and pound that I've seen. Like I think she's 100% finish rate as well. Like she's solid, right? I'm not worried picking her to win this one inside the distance, whether it be knockout or submission. in the first or second round. I'll go with round number 1 just to keep it quick, because I know some people might be looking at Montserrat Ruiz, the plus 310. The fact that she didn't get submitted by Jacqueline Amarin, who's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and look at the line and be like, oh, she might be live here if she can get some of her wrestling off, because she is a wrestling girl, I suppose. But she's 5 foot tall. Her takedown defense isn't great. Moura's much bigger. She's going to get on top of her. And what makes her more dangerous than someone like Amarin is that she will pound your fucking face in. So if she can't get the submission, if say Montserrat Ruiz is just so damn good at submission defense, she's going to get pounded out because Moura's just too much for her. She's too big. She's going to get on top of her. She's going to pound her out or get a submission. It just depends on if Ruiz gives up her back, where the choke will come in, or if the judge, or not the judge, but the referee will stop it after like a couple punches. We don't know. That's why it's like inside the distance for me is probably the better option. Taking her straight, not really worth it. Not really worth parlaying her. Why is that, Jose? Because they are women. We cannot trust them. So we will go with, I'm picking for you. Fuck that. We're going with Moura, first round knockout. You don't need to waste more time on this one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do remember Montserrat, because I think I called her Monster Rat the first time. I think we, she was going to make her debut. And yeah, she's been, I wish she lived up to her name, but she's been more of a dead possum for the most part.
Yeah, she's been more or less getting finished. Like, she got finished real quick, but then again, that was to a title challenger in Amanda Lemos. And then eventually Jacqueline Amarin TKO'd her. So that was in the 3rd round, but I think Moura's going to do it a lot quicker because she's just too big. Like, we'll look to fade this girl later on, but right now, slim pickings. It's easy money.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, moving on. We've got Lucas the Lion Alexander versus David Crunchy Black Onama. Moving on, we've got the women's bout, strawweight, Angela Hill versus Denise Gomes. It's pretty interesting that the odds are still pretty close. I would have expected Denise Gomes, who's only got a 2-fight knockout streak, to be a bit higher, but she's minus 135. Come back on Angela Hill plus 115. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Yeah, Angela Hill's nearly 40. But to me, I feel like Denise Gomes, she's kind of a product of her like success as of late. Like, she's been getting knockouts. She's not a bad fighter, but I don't think she is quite the caliber fighter quite yet. Like, her last fight, she did cost me money because I thought Howdagi was gonna. Fuck, man, Howdagi is the like kind of a new Mexican young woman prospect. She's solid, right? She's very good, but she is hittable. So Denise Gomes exploited that and knocked her the fuck out multiple times in that fight, because Denise Gomes just kind of discovered that she's got a huge right hand. So that broke my heart. But like, the issue with Howdagi is that if you can catch her kind of early, that's her biggest draw. Like, if you let her into the fight, kind of get her rhythm, she's going to outpoint you. She might even knock you out. But early, take advantage of her. You can make a star out of whoever knocks her out. I think that's what's going on with Denise Gomes. Like, I think she's solid, but a girl like Angela Hill, it's kind of a tailor-made fight for her to win this one by decision. She throws a lot of volume. I think her submission game has gotten better. She can get clipped, but I've not seen her knocked out cold like shit. I haven't shown you the T-shirts yet, Jose, so I won't get into the T-shirts. But Mackenzie Dern was like throwing everything at her, like knockout punches, submissions, and Angela Hill just took it in 5 rounds, and she never gave up, right? Like, you can say what you want about Angela Hill, but like, she will always fight for your money, no matter if she wins or loses. And I think in this case, it's a good shot in the dark. Again, unfortunately, stupid pun, but to take Angela Hill to beat Denise Gomes, the only issue that I would have betting her is like that disgusting, unsatisfying feeling of knowing that Angela Hill won the fight. Clear as day, outpointed her, stuffed all the takedowns, avoided all the big shots, but they still give it to Denise Gomes because like she punched the air a lot harder than Angela Hill. So that's my biggest concern. Denise could possibly knock her out. Like, Angela's not she's not exempt from getting knocked out. Like it's a possibility, but realistically, I think Angela Hill's. I just think this is a really good spot for her. She's not fighting someone incredibly dangerous. She's not fighting someone in like the top 10. It's a good spot for her to kind of rebound. And if she loses this fight, we can have those talks again that like she might be done, but she always finds a way to come back. That's the funny thing about Angela Hill. She's 15-13 and she's still in the UFC for a reason. I think she is overall getting more skilled, and I think this is a good spot for her to show those skills.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Angela Hill myself. It's pretty close. I mean, the odds, I should say. I know Denise is the favorite, but yeah, as you mentioned, Angela, despite I actually remember that for whatever reason, or I don't know, maybe it was a dream, maybe it was a post or something. But I actually remember that Mackenzie Dern fight. She lost, but she took it like a champ.
She really
Uh,
did.
so unless Denise is going to come with that same um, what's the word? Ferocity, like a berserker barrage sort of thing.
I called
Um,
it big titty power.
yeah, yeah, it's definitely
She won't
the
have
only
that
thing.
here.
No, the only the only thing I'm looking at is a loss to Mackenzie is, I'd say, has less. What's the word? Has less weight on it than a loss to Loma Lukbunmi.
Mm.
Um, that Denise has. So I'd say losing to Lukbunmi versus Dern is like uh, losing to shit. What's that guy? Brian Ortega in an alley. Versus Max Holloway in the octagon. Because I haven't seen Brian. For whatever reason, I saw something on Brian Ortega at some point, and I'm like, hey, what the hell happened to this guy?
Oh yeah,
Anyway,
his shoulder got wrecked, and then his personal life got wrecked. I don't know what the hell happened with him and Tracy, but they're no longer together, and he's out here just kind of. I don't fucking know what the hell he's doing.
huh,
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
they're
I'm like,
doing like the whole Instagram battling. Like Tracy's like, "Oh, out here living my best life," and Brian's just over here like, "I'm getting my dick sucked by models," and it's like, ooh, it's just
yeah.
stupid shit, dude.
Hmm. But yeah. So I mean, I'm going with plus money on Angela Hill in this instance. I think is a once again, this is women's MMA, so uh, shouldn't really bet on women's MMA, especially here. But plus money on Angela Hill, I think is uh, not surefire money, but if you have a little bit of money to burn, and if you want to, like, clench them so tight that no air escapes at all for 15 minutes, then by all means, put a little bit of sprinkle a little bit on Angela Hill in this case, because I think she can definitely take it. She's at the point where she's, I don't know, I guess maybe a punching bag, for the division or women at this point, and she's getting paid for it. But she can, it's very possible she can always come through with, let me see, how would she do it? Rear naked choke, possibly, second, third round, you never know. Especially in Brazil, that would, you know,
That
like you
pissed them
said,
off.
shut the crowd up, yeah. And they'd be like, wait, what is it? What does they say?
Uva morrer.
Yeah, exactly. It's,
Should we just pick every Brazilian to lose via rear naked choke? I would hope
I
so.
mean, it's just because I don't see Denise going for like a double leg or going, I see them scrambling, and then I see just um, Angela just taking her back, like she would, if she was wearing a Rolex walking down the street, um, and then she'd just take her back and uh, be like, BLM, and then choke her out and steal her watch. Um, But yeah, I see Angela Hill taking it here, either by decision or by rear naked choke.
Let's hope it's a rear naked choke in the third. Let's move on with this one. I'll be pretty quick on this one. I honestly think this is, oh man, it's a kind of a letdown spot for Victor Petrino here. He's minus 260. He's undefeated. He's 9-0. He came in from the Contender Series where he knocked out another now UFC fighter in Rodolfo Bellato. Is it Bellato? Yeah, Rodolfo Bellato. Funny thing about Bellato, Jose, I saw him when I went to Salt Lake City. I went to the weigh-ins for like the BMF title fight between Poirier and Gagey, and I saw his tattoo, and I'm like, this motherfucker looks familiar. Who is he? And I kept thinking, is this that Bellato dude? Because the reason I knew it was him is because he had a tiger tattoo, and you know how I love my tiger tattoos. I'm like, oh, it's fucking Bellato. And then fucking months later, he's in the UFC. But yeah, he knocked the dude out, Bellato. Bellato's a solid fighter. But what's funny about Petrino is that every other fight after that, he's kind of looked shittier and shittier. But he's so fucking athletic that he gets away with shit. Like his striking and his striking defense is not great, but he's got a ton of power. When he lands his punches, they're good. And it almost seems like he wants to become known as a grappler because his last fight, he kept taking down, what the hell's his name? Fuck it, I'll just look it up. Petrosyan. He kept taking Petrosyan down, and he wanted to get the submission, which eventually he did. And I think it was an arm triangle, which was, I think, an arm triangle from side control or half guard, meaning that he's definitely getting better, right? Overall, his style is developing, but I just see him being so beatable still. And a guy like Modestas Bukauskas, and right now he's plus 210. The guy isn't anything to write home about, right? But after he left the UFC, I think he's developed a better style for himself where he's a tankier guy. In the past, he was are you gonna go car bomb somebody?
No. Sorry, I couldn't find the mute button in time.
But yeah, in the past, he would kind of move around a lot, but now he's more of a tankier, solid striker. The issue with Petrino is that he is hittable. He's there to get hit. I feel like he leaves himself exposed too often. Victor should win this fight in the sense that because of his ridiculous athleticism, he should be able to maneuver himself around and maybe get a takedown and just win minutes. Maybe not good minutes, maybe not the entire round, but I think he can win enough minutes for the Brazilian judges to say that, hey, Victor Petrino won this fight. I'm going to pick him to win by a decision, but I do think that Bukauskas, if you want to maybe take a shot on him, as long as he can keep it on the feet, if he can defend takedowns, and as long as he doesn't get knocked out, because although I do think Petrino, he's got knockout power, and Modestas, I think his chin isn't awful. He's not exempt again from getting knocked out, but I think Modestas is just slightly cleaner. His counter striking is better. And I kind of like Bukauskas in his spot. I don't trust him to not somehow give it up to Petrino, meaning that he finds himself on his back. And Petrino uses that athleticism to keep him there. And the issue with Petrino is it's not pretty sometimes, but like his raw strength and his, again, athleticism, he will get you in the position where he wants you, which sounds a bit sexy, but I will go with Petrino by decision.
I'm actually going with Bukauskas here because I'm like, why does this guy's name sound, so familiar? And I'm like, yeah, he did. Let's see, was it against Khalil?
Khalil absolutely. Well, what's the best word to use? Decimated his knee by when he kicked the fucking shit out of it. Like, ugh.
Yeah, I actually remember him from Andreas
Michailidis.
Yeah. I think I had Andreas retirement.
Yeah,
I think
this
he
is
won
a fight
because that was the fight where was it Andreas that fell through the cage? I remember.
That is it. Yep.
Yeah.
I was pretty pissed because I think they were like potentially illegal elbows to the back of the head. And then when Michailidis, he sat backwards, the cage was open, and the ref is like, that's it. I'm like, oh, you fucking asshole. I think it was Big Dan, too, Mergliata,
Yeah,
that asshole.
yeah. After that fight, he got demoted to medium Dan.
Yeah, fuck that.
Mergliata, he's not a piece of shit. But yeah, he had a rough going after that. Against Krut, Olajaychik, Roundtree. Looks like he got his shit together in Cage Warriors and made a comeback.
Yeah, he won the title
Sort
in
of.
Cage Warriors, and then he came back, and then he's on a pretty good streak right now.
Yeah, I mean, Tyson Pedro's not anything nothing to scoff at, but he's not, I wouldn't put him, be like, oh shit, he's next in line for a title. But he's on a streak right now, 4 fights, which is good. Um, I'm gonna go with Modestas. I know the odds say otherwise, but I think he's probably, matured for sure. And I don't know, man. This Vitor reminds me a little bit of the other Vitor. He looks a little bit juiced.
He's pretty juicy. And I respect
Yeah,
the dude. Like I do think this is a spot where more than likely it's a dog or pass betting wise, because I see Vitor. I just see so many opportunities to beat the guy. Right, Petrino was
yeah,
having some success with him on the feet. Like Modestas, if his takedown defense again holds up, and it's not terrible, I think he's got a good chance. So I'm considering a shot on Modestas. I'll be out with you in California, so we might see the fights together. So we might figure out a way to bet out in California. But it's an interesting bout. I'll just say it's just again those damn Brazilian judges are in my head, and if Petrino can not get knocked out or hurt and just kind of hold on to Bukauskas and trip him down for like the last minute of the round, they'll just be like, "Oh, Victor Petrino." Bukauskas' 28 significant strikes mean shit to me. That's my biggest worry.
yeah. There's that. They might, yeah, they might be like, oh yeah, those 100 strikes, versus that one takedown. It's like, oh shit, that was one hell of a takedown.
So yeah, good. Bukauskas it is for
Yeah.
you. Let's move on. We've got welterweight bout. Elizeu Zaleski Capoeira dos Santos versus Rinat Gladiator Fakhretdinov. Fakhretdinov, 22-2. He is minus 285. Come back on Zaleski plus 235. Now, one might be thinking, well, Zaleski handled a Nurmagomedov in his last fight, went to a split decision with Babukar. This ain't a Babukar. Rinat Fakhretdinov, he's rightfully the huge favorite in this sense. Like he is a minus, 300 right now. Fakhretdinov is legit. I know some people tried to pick against him in the past. Some people picked fucking Kevin Lee to beat this guy. He. I don't want to go into it, but let's just say he made Kevin Lee second guess his life after what he did to him. He essentially knocked him out. Then he decided to I think it was like a 10-finger guillotine where he choked him out completely. Rinat Fakhretdinov is the real deal. He, I think, will be top 10 eventually because the guy, his striking is coming together nicely. He throws a lot of good volume, good low kicks, deceptively good right hand with the power. He can wrestle. The issue with Zaleski, right, is that Zaleski, he's definitely older. He got suspended for being on some juice, I believe. He did beat Abubakar, but Abubakar is the weakest Nurmagomedov. Even the weakest Nurmagomedov hurt Zaleski in the first round. But because Nurmagomedov, Abubakar, is an absolute wimp low from Kung Pao Enter the Fist, where they trained him incorrectly on purpose,
Yeah.
he decides, hey, let me try to out-grapple Zaleski, who has surprisingly above-average takedown defense. When you are in takedown mode against Zaleski against the cage, he's going to be able to defend those takedowns. But when you're in striking mode and you have him in trouble where he's worried about getting hit in the face, and then you go for a takedown, which is what I'm expecting Rinat to do, he's not going to see that coming. They're going to come easier. But even then, Abubakar was able to take Zaleski down with a nice trip. You can see that Zaleski slowed down. He's still a dangerous striker. He's capable of knocking out anybody in the world, but I don't think he's going to knock out Rinat. I think Rinat's going to eventually get a finish here. I'm taking Rinat Fakhretdinov. I'm going to say I think he can knock out Zaleski. He's got a good chance to do so. I'm going to say it's going to be TKO. I think he's going to get his ground and pound off. He's going to tire out Zaleski, and then round number, I'm going to say 3. he just pounds him out completely, like cumulative damage from round number 1 and 2. Round number 3, they stop it, or it might go to a decision because the ridiculous Brazilian judge is like, he's still moving. Let him he's got this. Don't worry. And then Zaleski's just like losing brain cells. I'm going to go with Rinat Fakhretdinov. I really do think he's going to make this fight not necessarily look easy, but it's going to look like people betting Zaleski are going to be like, fuck, like, what did I do? I get it, right? Zaleski, he's capable of winning a lot of fights, especially if he's in Brazil and especially if he's taking his special acai. Not the acai that he gets from, like, I don't know, Glendale, but I mean the acai that he gets from Sao Paulo, though, the good shit. So I understand people betting Zaleski if they do, but to me, I think Rinat Fakhretdinov has proved himself more than enough that he is pretty damn special. So I'll go with Rinat, 3rd round TKO.
Yeah, here I'm surprised the odds. I mean, they're not great, minus 285. I don't know how much money's going to come in on this guy Rinat. But it's getting toward, to the point where he's like, for sure, it's, I think minus 300 means something like 60-70% odds of winning. And so, let's see. Yeah, looks like, he's got the bald head, no mustache, and, the scraggly beard. So this guy means business.
And he wears a funny hat sometimes.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. So to me, he's 100% going to win.
Oh, man, yeah. Well, according to, holy shit, 93% on Tapology that this guy's going to win. All right, I guess that's, Buff Amanda Nunez agrees as well. Yeah, I mean, I have literally nothing else to add other than, yeah, it looks like Russia's going to shut the Brazilians up, at least in this fight, for sure. Yeah, I see the ground and pound, but I think he's going to end rear naked choke, 2nd round for Rinat.
That'd be nice. Shut up the crowd. That's a possibility. Like, Rinat's a good grappler, but something about Zaleski, I think he won't allow himself to give up the back. Thus, he will give up brain cells instead. So he doesn't want to get submitted in Brazil, so he'd rather get paralyzed in Brazil. So moving on to bantamweight bout, Daniel Marcos versus striker Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo, what the hell are the odds? Let me look them up. MMA odds. It's annoying that they don't have them there for me. He is Victor Hugo plus 180, come back on Marcos minus 225. So to keep this one brief, like, the odds, they're kind of a little ridiculous. I think it should be a little closer, maybe minus 180 Marcos. Victor Hugo, and I understand why the odds are like that. Those are kind of like, fuck, if I were to see those odds just out in the wild, I would get it, but I'd be like, fuck, the public must have done their research and then they must have steamed the line. So I'm not really sure if that's the opening odds. Let's see. Yeah, I guess Marcos kind of started off at a minus 250, so it dropped a little bit. I think Marcos is going to win this one. The reason is Victor Hugo came in from the Contender Series. He looked semi-impressive, right? He got a knee bar against another South American, I believe. What was his name? Dantas. I don't fucking know what ethnicity he is, but he's Hispanic. So Victor Hugo seems like a round 1 or 2 fighter, and that's it. Like, he's a dangerous guy, very dangerous jiu-jitsu. Keeps his hands low, though. Cardio issues, I think. Like, I went back, watched a lot of his fights. He gets a lot of really quick finishes, usually submissions. He's a very dangerous submission artist. My biggest concern with the guy is that although he is very likely to potentially get a very sneaky, like, leg lock, he will gas out. And as I mentioned earlier, he's one of these fighters that if you allow him to fight his fight, meaning that when he gets tired, he will try to grapple you and get on top of you, just to win the grappling. That way he's on top and he wins a decision. That's if he's dead tired. If he can't do that, I think he is kind of like a sitting duck. Like he will definitely keep fighting. He's not going to just let himself get his ass beat. But in that Contender Series fight, his opponent, which is again Eduardo Mateus Torres Scout, you can kind of see he was slowly taking over. Like he was defending the takedowns. You saw Hugo slow down. He didn't look incredibly tired, but you fucking know this guy was tired because he uses a lot of athleticism. He throws a lot of unnecessary strikes sometimes as well. Motherfucker threw like a Mortal Kombat 1 sweep kick. I'm like, why are you doing that? Marcos, on the other hand, this fucking guy, although his last fight was not uber impressive, some say he might have lost that fight against Davy Grant. Davy Grant's a much more dangerous fighter than Hugo because he can actually fight for 3 rounds. Marcos, he's an anomaly to me because he throws ridiculously good combinations when he lets his hands go, but he attacks the body well. Takedown defense is pretty good. He clinches well, attacks the body with knees. I think as long as Daniel Marcos can survive the first round where Hugo's going to potentially go balls to the walls, he's got a good chance to finish him in the second or third round because once Daniel Marcos lets the combinations go, he is ridiculously impressive. And I think he's fought a similar fighter in, what was his name? Simon Oliveira. Simon, very similar to Hugo, but I think Hugo's a little bit more polished, more dangerous on the mat. Simon fought him kind of like too wild, and I think Hugo can be a little bit too wild. It's just there's a lot of danger with Hugo where if you want to take him by sub, possibly round number 1 sub, it wouldn't be a bad bet, but just know that you're risky. It's really risky. But to me, I think Daniel Santos will have a much better performance here. He's already fought in Brazil. He's from South America. He's from Peru. These Peruvians are coming up. They're getting better. And I think Marcos is going to prove that here, where it's like he's going to be able to stuff the takedowns. He's going to avoid the submissions. And then he's going to let it go. And then you're going to see Victor Hugo like trying to shoot for dear life, and then it's going to look really embarrassing for the Brazilian to the point that maybe even the Brazilians will start booing him. But I'm going to go with Marcos round number 3 TKO. I think he's going to hurt him various times, but Hugo's kind of maybe flop a little bit, let him get back up, and then Hugo will eventually get finished with like nasty body shots. Hugo keeps his hands low relatively most of the time, but they will continue to go lower as the fight goes on. I see something nasty coming his way, so I'm going to go TKO round number 3 for Marcos.
I'm actually also going with Marcos round number 3, but I think by that time, Hugo is going to bank on, his takedowns bearing fruit, meaning like, he has successful takedowns round 1 and 2, doesn't really do much with them. They get up, strike again. But I think by round number 3, he's going to kind of be, still trying to go for those takedowns, but with, much less, how did I want to phrase it? He's going to have much less potent takedown attempts. And so he's going to, just basically, try to hug his crotch with his face. But in one of those attempts, I think Marcos is going to take his back and bam.
Rear naked choke. How did I not see that coming?
I can see it, man. I honestly can. Like, I think, I really think, Victor's going to tire himself out. And in the third round, Marcos is going to bide his time and bam. Rear naked choke, man. He's going to like stuff it and then just jump over him, take his back, and that's it. Call it a night.
So Marcos rear naked choke, and you said round number 3?
Round 3, yeah, I think so.
Awesome.
I think he'll be exhausted by then.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't see the odds.
Yeah, the odds aren't there. Else, but... Yeah, it's minus 225 for Marcos and Hugo plus 180 currently.
Yeah, it's sounds about right. But I mean, I had it reversed in terms of like, the odds being in favor of Victor,
mm-hmm.
and then you would get Marcos at plus money, which would be a good deal. But I mean, it's still at minus 225, it's a little bit riskier. But I mean, in terms of just betting odds themselves, but it's still I just either by
I think,
decision or by patented rear naked choke.
well, I would say it might be a good idea to maybe live bet Daniel Marcos after the first round, because what I've been kind of doing as of late, because if there's a lot of danger in that first round, for say for example, I brought it up with a fight from Trevor Peek versus Chepe Mariscal. I said, like, hey, if Chepe survives the first round, if he doesn't get knocked the fuck out, who's at the time he's kind of known for being a little stupid, at that point, just bet the shit out of that big number. For Daniel, if that number is a little too high, to me, is like just wait out the first round. And if the number drops to like minus 180 or maybe even plus money, because Victor Hugo maybe got a couple good submission attempts, I'd be like beep, 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 blasting that fucking plus money for Daniel Marcos. Cause like to me, Victor's not going to have that same kind of steam. He doesn't have the same cardio as Daniel, and then Daniel's just going to whip his ass eventually. And then, or we'll lose a very stupid decision where he clearly like dominates him. And it's like, well, Victor Hugo by decision 29-20 fucking 7. Why not? One judge gives him a 10-8. All right, let's move on to the next fight, because I actually am pretty excited to talk about this one. Elvis Brenner versus Esteban El Gringo Ribovic. I'm going to say I think this is going to be fight of the night, because number one, Ribovic is involved. Ribovic is fucking super fun to watch. He is ridiculously fun to watch. And Elvis Brenner in his last fight, Elvis Brenner, he fought Guram Kutateladze. Guram, really highly touted, fucking minus 400, I believe, was his price tag, against Brenner, who, to me, I called him the janitor at Shooto Box. Like, he's the guy who, picture this, Jose, you see Charles Oliveira training, you see all these, like, really good grapplers training at Shooto Box, and you see Elvis Brenner just mopping up the fucking mats, and then he's like, ugh, he's just playing with a mop head, and that's how he's learning MMA. That's what it looked like to me when he fought. Like, this guy looks like he clearly is just watching the good guys grapple, and he's picking up some good stuff, but he's not good at it. And then the fucker comes in the UFC on short notice. He beats Zubaira Tukhugov. Kind of fuckery, by the way, because I thought Tukhugov won that pretty easily. And then he knocks out Guram Kutateladze. And this is when I'm like, oh shit, maybe Elvis Brenner ain't the fucking worst one in Shooto Box. And it turns out it's true. It ends up being Mendonça, who, well, we don't need to worry about that guy. But Elvis Brenner showed ridiculous toughness in that fight against Guram. Guram beat the shit out of him, hurt him pretty bad. He kept coming. He had a nasty cut. He kept coming. He had just this unquenching desire to win, to the point that he actually cracked Guram with a shot that really wobbled him, and he made Guram quit. And all Guram had to do is just survive. And I was like, damn, Elvis is kind of a badass. He was able to take down Guram. You can definitely tell he trains at Shooto Box, and he's definitely getting better. And now he's fighting Esteban Ribovic, and the odds are minus 130 for Brenner. Comeback on Ribovic is plus 110. Now, with Ribovic, Esteban is you can tell how bad and good he is at the same time. Like, he's really not great at stuffing takedowns, and that's usually how you can beat a guy like Ribovic. You take him down, you control him, and you just win based off of that, because he's difficult to submit. He really makes the fight hard for anyone who is fighting him, because off of his back, he's not anything particularly special. Like, he does have a pretty good Kimura trap sweep, but he just moves around so fucking much that it's like you get tired just trying to control him, because he's got a good gas tank. On top of that, on the feet, the dude throws fucking everything at you. Like, he comes after you. He's incredibly fun to watch, especially when he has you hurt. The guy just throws a lot of volume. He attacks the body very well. He's incredibly, I keep mentioning, he's really fun to watch. And I think this is going to be a fun fight. So the way I see this fight going, and why I see so much danger in this fight, and why it could be fight of the night is that Brenner has to use his grappling. He has to take him down. But realistically, though, just because he beat Garam, I'm not going to call it a fluke because it wasn't a fluke. It's just more of like Brenner's toughness got him that win, opposed to him being significantly better than Garam. He was able to take him down, but that was kind of like a surprise for Garam. That punch that landed on him that knocked out Garam was kind of a surprise as well. On the feet, he's not anything really special. He is very hittable. He's, again, tough. He will take a shot to give a shot, but you can rock him. You can hurt him to the body. You can slow him down. The fight progresses further. He will slow down. He will get less technical and less dangerous. So his way to win is just continuously get takedowns. And shit, all you really would need is potentially 2 or possibly 3 takedowns on Esteban, where you win the first round, you control him, use all your kind of your energy to keep him on the mat, maybe take his back, try to submit him. Round number 2, try to do the same. If you can't, Esteban's going to whip your ass, survive. And then round number 3, take him down again, control him, win enough time to survive and win the fight. But if you allow Esteban to get on the feet, especially knowing that he's losing, he's going to come after you and like try to take your head off. The reason for it is not only does he have the like raw, passionate, flaming, I don't know, aggression of being Hispanic, he's also got the like dark evilness of being a Nazi, because as we know about Argentinians, they have the like super Jose sounding first name and then the super Nazi sounding last name. So he's got both of the best of both worlds. So that's what makes him so damn dangerous. He will come after you. And again, I'm probably looking forward to this fight the most because I think it's gonna be excellent. I'm gonna take the shot on a Ribovic. And I'm not going to bet him yet because, again, I think he's going to lose the first round. The odds will get better, then bet him live. But I think both men have a really interesting path to victory here where Ribovic can just put numbers on Brenner, whip his ass. If Esteban can definitely stuff takedowns, then Brenner's probably in a lot of trouble. The only issue with Esteban is that he is hittable. He throws a lot of volume. He doesn't really move his head. So I can see him potentially getting hurt as well. Fun fight, really fun fight. I'm going to take Esteban Ribovic by third round TKO. I think he can finish Brenner by attacking the body and just not allowing himself to get taken down. But again, this to me is really, really close. Obviously, the odds indicate that. It is my favorite fight to watch. I think it's going to be a fucking barn burner. So I'll go with Ribovic. I think I'll take a chance on him. But you have to kind of know what you're getting into. You have to be prepared that he can get taken down and he's going to fucking lose a stupid ass decision. So, but he may not get taken down. He might beat the absolute shit out of Brenner and we get to see the true Brenner, the guy who, honest to God, to me, when I saw tape on him, didn't look like he belonged to the UFC. So I'm taking Esteban, kind of like a fan favorite pick. So I'll go with Ribovic by TKO in the third.
You know where I'm going with this, right?
I think I do.
Funny. Yeah, well, yeah, you hit it right on the nose. The odds have this. This is basically a coin flip fight. I would say you go with either side. It's going to be close, but yeah, I think Esteban has a leg up on Brenner for sure. That's if he can, like you mentioned, if he can stuff, takedowns. And actually, this is. I would say this is the opposite of what I usually go with because I think Brenner has the better chance of getting the rear naked choke here if Esteban allows him to mount him. So it's really, I think, Esteban's fight to lose. I think Elvis. I think he's the slight favorite here because they're in Brazil, so that gives him a slight leg up. But that aside, I think Esteban has the potential, I guess in this case, maybe to pull off the upset since he's a slight underdog. But then it's in these cases where you're like, you know what, this guy. or at least this is my mentality, you know, or
Mm.
it has been in the past, where I'm like, you know what, this guy is the fucking what do you call it? Slight uh slight favorite. So fuck it. To me, that means he's the huge favorite. And then
Mm.
it turns out it's like fuck. The guy who actually won, you know, more often than not, is the slight underdog.
Yeah, it's like, to me, I think that Brenner is. I was honestly surprised he wasn't that big of a favorite, because I expected with a win
Uh-huh.
over a top guy like Garam, he'd be like maybe minus 180. Just not that I put him that high, it's just that like maybe the public would. This is pretty accurate, I think, because Brenner realistically isn't that much of a talent. I just think his biggest strength is his ability to take an ass whooping. And on top of that, like, Guram's not a huge power puncher like Ribovic. I think Ribovic, if he lands on him once, he can put his lights out. But again, if Brenner can take him down once, he's got a good chance to maybe get that choke or get that submission. But I just think that Ribovic is too wily. It's like a squirming cat on the ground. Like, motherfucker's just like not giving up. You can't really take his back because he's like moving too much. That's kind of how I see it. It's just not. It's not that he's super technical off of his back. It's just that he's like stop moving, motherfucker. So we'll see. But again, he's not terrible. It's just I think that we might see the real Brenner in this fight again. And the real Brenner is a guy who probably should be like minus 150 here. So I think you have a good point there, where the plus 110 in this situation might be the actual favorite.
Yeah, I think so. It's just one of those things, you know, after, you know, losing so many goddamn bets that, you know, you shouldn't have even bet on. You're like, wait a second. For the, you know, it's like after the 50th fucking time of doing the same goddamn thing, I'm starting to notice a pattern.
Yeah. Like, wait a minute. Maybe I should bet more underdogs.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's not guaranteed, but if
Hmm.
you take a look at, like, you know, it's probably like you know, something like 60% of the time you're gonna win plus money. It's not a big plus money, but still, you know, on these super close, you know, underdogs and whatnot.
Yeah, it's worth a shot, I think. So I might end up betting Esteban. Esteban, the Nazi Ribovic. Is Nazi an appropriate word to say on? Is that why the videos aren't getting like super popular? Because I keep saying words like Nazi, and they're like, no, we can't highlight these videos. I might have to bleep
Well,
out the word Nazi.
I mean, they did have pretty good style, so maybe that's it. I don't know.
Okay, Kanye. Let's move on to the fucking main card. How many fights are on this damn thing? 14. All right, let's cut through this one. Ishmael Bonfim versus From Hell Vink Pichel. Pichel, 40 years old. He's been away for a year and a half almost. Pichel's a solid fighter. He's definitely a solid competitor. Even at his age, I think he's capable of winning this fight. He's going to be the bigger dude here by 2 inches in height, 1 inch in reach. I just can't trust Vink Pichel against a Bonfim brother. Now, Bonfim's minus 440. Last time he was a pretty high dog or a favorite, he kind of shit the bed. And I'll explain that in a bit. But plus 340 on Pichel, I get the temptation knowing that, you know, maybe one takedown and Bonfim's just going to tappa. The issue with his last fight is that I think he got super humbled. I don't think he's worth betting. I think he's on the doghouse right now. Like, you don't bet a guy like Bonfim after that last performance at minus 440 until you see what he's capable of doing. He has to come in here and knock the shit out of Vink Pichel. We can talk about betting him or parlaying him in the future. But the issue with his last fight, it wasn't the fact that he lost to Benoit Saint-Denis, is that how he lost. And not even how he lost. Like, him getting submitted isn't like, oh, shucks, you know, like, we didn't see that coming. It's just more of he let his pride get the better of him. Benoit Saint-Denis came out, very good game plan, attacked the body really early with hard left body kicks to the liver. He attacked him a lot. so much so that Bonfim kind of took it personal. Like he got offended the fact that he got kicked so many fucking times that he actually egged him on to kick him, and Benoit complied and kicked him again. And then eventually Benoit kind of pushed him to the cage and took him down. And then you can kind of see Bonfim slowly getting back into the fight. You know, he slowed down his pace. He was able to stuff some takedowns, but he just never really got in the proper headspace. And at the very end of the fight, he got taken down. Benoit took his back. And this is where I call it a stunt. It's not, again, the fact that he lost to Saint-Denis or that he got submitted by Saint-Denis. It's just more of the fact that he allowed it to happen the way it happened. He didn't defend the choke. He kind of just accepted his fate and he tapped out. Like he could have fought the choke, could have fought the hands, and he could have extended it into the second round where I think he would have had more success, right? I think Benoit does slow down. I think he would have had success stuffing the takedowns, attacking him, and then coasting to a really close 29-28 decision by just landing the better shots and avoiding the takedowns. But the fact that I don't want to say he quit. I just think that he called it a day. Let's just go with that. I thought that was a huge stunt. I think he will learn from that. I don't think he's going to put himself in a situation like that. I'm going to take Bonfim to have a really good comeback fight, look better, look more, I guess, in tune with what's going on in the cage, and that is, do not underestimate your opponent. Do not underestimate a 40-year-old Pichel, because he will beat your ass. If you allow him to, he's going to beat the shit out of you. He's a tough guy. He's a very wily vet. So if Bonfim learned his lesson, I think he's going to take care of business against Vink Pichel in the second round TKO.
Sorry, I was on mute there.
Yeah, you're good.
I mean, Vink, I call him Vince.
That's his real name. It is Vince, but he thinks Vink is a lot cooler. Like Vin Diesel.
Yeah. I always thought that was weird. And funny, I actually had him winning against Mark Madsen way back when. I remember, but
I sure as hell didn't. I bet Mark Madsen. Yeah. I know he was fucking pissed too. He's like, "What the fuck? I won that fight," and Mark's just like,
Yeah, he's. I think at his age, age is the biggest factor here. I mean, and you know, on not betting on Vince, he's Vince to me. I don't know. Because if you look at his record, he's fighting like once a year.
Yeah, he's not active.
Yeah, he's fighting once a year. Because I still remember him against Jim Miller. To me, that's like yesterday. You know, and I look at it, and that's 3 years ago. Holy shit.
Yeah, dude.
And then Austin Hubbard, Mark Madsen. Well, fuck. Yeah, I think youth is on Ismail's side.
What makes you say that?
Because he's younger. He's 13 years younger. His youth is on his side. You know, they're in Brazil. He's a little bit smaller, and the most concerning thing is really the odds to me.
Oh yeah.
Because unless this guy has like, because here's the catch with this guy. He lost to Benoit Saint Denis 3 months ago by oddly enough rear naked choke. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, it's an omen.
So there's a lot of weird red flags to this fight. I would suggest staying away from this fight because the odds are crazy. Minus 440. It's like for a guy coming off none other than rear naked choke. Sure, he's fighting in Brazil. He's a little bit smaller than Vink. Now, if we have, damn, I called him Vink. Vince. Now, the most dangerous Vince. Holy shit! I didn't know he went to Big John's Ultimate Training Academy.
Big John McCarthy's Ultimate Training Academy off of Highway 6.
So the biggest thing with Vince is underestimating him. So if Ismail underestimates Vince, especially if we have like the most dangerous Vince that I've seen is mustache Vince. Like he has a pretty epic
That is
mustache.
true.
When he comes out with that mustache, dude, you're in fucking trouble. They're both coming off losses. Sure, Vince's loss was a year and change ago, almost 2 years. While Ismail, sure, he can make a, you know, comeback of sorts, I guess. And yes, they're in Brazil, but this is a tricky one. You gotta, I mean, for all intents and purposes, I'm going with Ismail, but there's it's you can't count out Vince, man. Like he's I would say a 2 round fighter. If this goes past the second round, third round's like up for grabs, I guess, because Vince can take the first 2 rounds and win, I guess, technically, but really depends on the judges at that point. However, man, if Vince gets on his back, man, that rear naked choke is all but guaranteed. So it's I would say stay away from this one. Well, at least I would suggest it
No, that's pretty
because I know
accurate.
you want to. Because I know you want to. You're like, oh shit, this guy's the heavy favorite. Fuck yeah, I'm gonna bet on him. It's guaranteed. No, it's guaranteed to. It's these heavy favorites that you're like, fuck. Because you got to take a look at all these X factors, and biggest X factor is will Vince have his mustache? Like
That is
how hard
true.
is his mustache game coming in? Because even at 40 years old, man, he's like the Dan Henderson of the rear naked choke world. Like, he could be 40 something, but fuck, you better watch out, man. That one thing is like, you know, it's like, or like Krokop's, left high kick or whatever. Everything else is like, all right, but, if they catch you with that one thing, then, man, your night's over. So I would say don't underestimate him because he's had a year and a half to rest. He's coming for it.
With a
If
sweet
anything,
stash.
yeah.
So who do you have
So
officially?
officially, I'm going with Ismail, but big giant fucking asterisk on this fight. To stay away
Yeah. I'm
because I'm
not a
not
fan
counting.
of parlaying it.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not counting Vince out. So
Well, let's move on. This one, let's talk about it really quickly. We've got black belt hunter Rodolfo Vieira versus Superman Armin Petrosyan. Petrosyan, shit, minus 125. Come back on Vieira, plus 110. I have a rule is that if Cody Brundage beats your ass, I cannot bet on you. So I'm going to go with Petrosyan. And other factors being that, Petrosyan, I think he's definitely improving himself. He's training in Dagestan, still training in Dagestan. I know that was his like big selling point when he came to the UFC. Like he trains at Dagestan and he's learning how to stuff takedowns, but he still gets taken down. Biggest thing about Armin is that when he does get taken down, he comes back up. He does strike like his life depends on it. He hasn't really done that as of late in the UFC because like he hasn't needed to. He's just a very good kickboxer. And if he keeps it on the feet, I think he wins this fight. I think he finds a way to possibly knock out Vieira and or just cruise to a decision. The biggest threat is if Vieira goes full fucking, I don't know, I guess Hulk on him. I guess will the Hulk be able to beat Superman? I'm sure there's a comic out there. Let's just go with Hulk. Let's say he goes full Hulk and he takes him down to the first round. It's really tough to not get submitted by Rodolfo Vieira if he decides to just go full out for that submission. So that's the biggest threat. But if Petrosyan can, keep it on the feet, maybe threaten Vieira enough for him to not go full, what, to go for that takedown, he's got a good chance here to potentially just cruise to a decision, outpointing the man, stuffing the takedowns, beating up Vieira's body. I mean, I just can't get over the fact that Vieira nearly got knocked out by Cody Brundage, like Cody Bumdage. I'm still salty about Brundage so damn much that he's got a UFC win on his record as of late. It just pisses me off, but I like Petrosyan here. I wish he would have been the underdog, but I'll go with Petrosyan by a TKO in the second. Let's go with the third. I like Viera a lot, right? I do. I've been a fan of Viera for a while. I think his striking is getting better. He's got a good jab, and he's learned to pace himself. But I don't know how well that's going to do here against Petrosyan, where I think it would be wise for him to go full. You know what? You do know what I mean, Jose, when I say you go full, you know what.
What, rapist? I mean, I don't know.
Different R word, but yeah, just go full
Uh,
that. Take them down and try to submit them, because if you allow yourself to like, oh, let's play the strikey patty cake game, Petrosyan's going to maybe throw a head kick and knock your bitch ass out. So I'm going to go with Petrosyan round 3. But I do see danger here, where if Rodolfo says, fuck it, I'm not losing in Brazil, he can get that submission. So I think maybe even the under would be smart. Like, if you do want to take Viera, maybe go with the under or submission prop. But I think I'll stay away from it. I think although Petrosyan does have a good chance to win this one later, I don't really want to go through that whole 15 minutes of like, will he, won't he? This isn't the fucking Friends, Ross and Rachel. Are they going to get together or not? Will Petrosyan stuff the takedowns? This is the 3rd round. It's 1-1. Will Petrosyan be able to keep it on the feet? I don't want to deal with that shit. So if I'm going to bet this fight, I'll probably take Viera by submission, maybe in the 1st round, just as like a fuck it, let's get this over with. And if it doesn't cash, then it doesn't cash. Instead of me waiting and like, is Petrosyan going to win? I'll go with Petrosyan round 3, but again, I'm not too interested in betting it. If Petrosyan was a dog, I would have taken him at that, but I'll stay away.
yeah, this is another one where it's kind of a coin flip fight. It's hard because I would say this fight in particular, if it goes the distance, I would give the edge to Rodolfo. But then again, looking at his record, man, he's set for a loss. Like, even if it is in Brazil, like
Yeah,
he's just alternating wins and losses. I don't know if he's taking this seriously. And yeah, man, if you get beat by a guy called Fluffy, are you really hunting for black belts, or are you hunting for like, something to cover up the pudding stain on your pants?
I hate to break it to you, dude, but Fluffy Hernandez, as of late, he's been a fucking killer. And it's like, when did this happen?
Yeah. So this is another tricky one. This is, I think, a coin flip fight for me. Uh, yeah, I don't know, man. I'll go with Rodolfo just because it's in Brazil to give him the slight edge. I think this will probably go the distance. Holy shit, Armin's 6'3". God damn,
He's a big boy.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean this fight to me is too close to call in terms of like, I don't think Rodolfo is going to be like super hyped. He's going to come in. I mean the crowd, but I don't know, man. I get the feeling he's like coming in all to walk to the octagon and everything, all show, and then he kind of flops a little bit, but does just enough to get like split the split decision win or whatever, or it's like he gets he winks at one of the judges and they're like, oh, I think it's too close a fight to call. Yeah, I would not parlay this. Odds are, yeah, I think odds are here dog or pass, but it's very risky, I think. Because yeah, it is plus money right now. I mean, it could flip around very easily. So that adds a little bit of value on Rodolfo. But other than that, yeah, I don't see value in betting this fight whatsoever. I mean, if you have to get it out of your system, you're like, oh man, I have that urge to, smoke crack. But instead, I'm going to bet on this fight. Then I'd say bet on this fight. Stay away from the crack. But yeah, I'm reluctantly going with Rodolfo, but big asterisk. Stay away from this fight. I mean, watch it, enjoy it, but if you are gonna bet, don't go big on this fight. Go kind of small. Yeah.
All right, moving on. Another middleweight bout. We've got Caio the Natural Borralho versus Abus Magomedov. Minus 375 for Caio, who's 14-1. Come back on Abus is plus 290, who's 25, 5-1, that is. So simple enough. Caio Borralho is going to win this fight, but how is he going to win this fight? Well, I think it's going to be round number 2, rear naked choke. I'll go with that. Submission. Why I think it's easy? Number one, let's talk about Abus. I'm not here to like shit on the man, right? Like he had a terrible performance his last fight where he legitimately quit against Sean Strickland. But now Sean Strickland's a champion, so you got to put a little bit more respect on Abus because Abus was landing furious kicks. He's very good. He's very fast, very good striker. But for how long, right? Like how long is he going to be a good striker for? He does have good reach, 78-inch reach, 6'2" in height. I do think he's got a chance here to win against Caio. Caio, I think highly of Caio Borralho. I think he is one of the smarter fighters in the UFC. Very good fight IQ. I don't think people often see it just because he hasn't had like the most dominant or the most impressive performances, but he has been fighting really good competition. Right, his last fight he fought Mikhail Lashechek, and what did he win by? Submission, rear naked choke, round number 2. He fought Mahmoud Muradov. Like that was a close fight, but Mahmoud Muradov is a good fighter. Then he fought Armen Petrosyan. He beat him. Granted, Armen gave him a tough fight, but Armen's a good fighter. And then, let's not talk about Gadzi. The thing about Caio Borralho, he's got a lot of things going for him, right? He's got good grappling. He's got good striking. His striking is very Machida-esque, where he's like a good southpaw. He bounces around a lot. The way he defends punches is a bit strange, right? Like his head doesn't move a whole ton, but like he moves his body in an awkward way. Like when he was defending punches against Mikhail Lashechek, he would like turn his hip. So instead of getting punched in the liver or the body, he would eat the punches to his hip, and it didn't seem to bother him. And I'm like, that's fucking weird. Like he has a really good lead right hand as well, and he's got a really fast, sneaky left hand. Like he's really fast with it. But primarily though, he does want to take you down. I do think he's got really good IQ in the sense that he can adjust mid-fight. Like when he was fighting, like his last fight, this is the most impressive performance to me because against Mikhail Lashechek, he wasn't looking particularly great early because he couldn't get the takedowns. And to me, at least, it looked like he wasn't fully engaging himself to try to get the takedown. He was engaging in the clinch to maybe fake a takedown to then attack the body of Mikhail. He'd land good knees to the body. At one point, he landed a good right hand to the body. And I'm like, okay, slowing him down because his movement was so damn high level that occasionally early on, Mikhail was landing good punches and his left hand nearly landed a few times, but like you can kind of see that he was slowing down. Borralho was just kind of skirting around and avoiding anything big. And then when he would leap in, he would throw to the body, attack him to eventually break him down to get that takedown late in the first. He eventually got him down in the second and then utterly dominated him. I think Caio, I think he is a beatable fighter, right? But if you allow him to make the proper adjustments, he will make those adjustments. He will find a way to exploit your weaknesses. He will try to get you down where that's really his more dominant game. But even if you are stuffing the takedowns, he doesn't particularly need to take you down. He can strike. It's just that in that striking exchange early, I think Abus might be able to possibly catch him. That's the biggest issue with this fight is that if Caio is to lose, it's going to be in the first round. So I think if you take Abus by finishing the first round, it is a possibility. He is very dynamic. But again, has he fixed up those issues where he's a fucking pussy quitter where he will quit and just look at the cage, or not look at the cage, but look at the clock and like try to skirt around? Because once that happens to you once, especially knowing that like you had a really good first round against Sean Strickland, where he beat the shit out of Sean. Right? He kicked the absolute shit out of him, but like Sean didn't do anything to him to lose that cardio. He did it to himself. So I think Caio is not only going to put the pressure on him and then attack his cardio, attack the body. I think I guess the over athleticism of Abus will eventually drain it for himself as well, where they're Kaio's going to take over in the second round and have his way with him. So I'm going to say round number 2, rear naked choke for Caio Borralho. I think, again, he's a very good fighter. He's got great fight IQ. He's with that Fighting Nerds team. He's done wonders for a lot of guys in that camp. And I like his game plans as well. And the dude is smart. He even picked Sean Strickland to beat Izzy. So that means a lot to me. So I'm going to pick Caio Borralho to win this fight as well. So I'm going to say round number 2, knock or rear naked choke.
Damn, I don't know that. Yeah, I'm going with Caio as well. I think Abus. I'm actually, well, I mean, I don't have too much more to add. I think it's going to be round 3, rear naked choke. I think Abus has at least he has a boot 2 rounds of cardio, and so in the third round he's I think he's done. I think he's I think he's gonna get. Let me see. Yeah, he's gonna lock up, get double leg, get mounted, give up his back, and then he'll get rear naked choked. He's gonna get spread out like an eagle, so to speak.
Right, let's move on. Next bout, rematch between Rodrigo Nascimento and Dante Almeida. Funny enough that Tapology doesn't put a 2 next to this fight because no one gives a shit about this fight. I don't give a shit about this fight. Rodrigo Nascimento is minus 220. Come back on Dante Almeida. He is plus 180. The odds should change because Dante Almeida is the man who injured John Jones. And that's why John Jones is not fighting for the heavyweight championship. That's why we're going to get the title fight, the interim title fight between Sergey Pavlovich and Black Tom Aspinall. So I got to give it to Mays here because he hooked it up by tearing the pec off of John Jones and that scrambling ability. But I don't see any difference in this fight. I will give you that Dante Almeida is a big dude, 6'6". He's training at a Jackson Wink. He's training with John Jones. From what I can tell, his takedown defense seems to be pretty good because the takedown defense now, when he stuffs takedowns, he rips motherfuckers' pecs off. But I think Nascimento himself, his takedown game has gotten better. And on top of that, he has power in his punches, and he's not afraid to throw punches as well. So I'm going to go with, you guessed it, round number 2, submission, rear naked choke for Nascimento again. I think Dante Almeida is still kind of a crappy fighter. He can potentially get a knockout, but the only person that he's knocked out in the UFC has been, a very chinny Andrei Arlovski. So I'll go with Nascimento to maybe not look great in the first round, but he will push forward, throw more punches, duck under, get a takedown against the cage, not tear his pec, and get a rear naked choke in the second.
Holy shit! Yeah, man, Dante, fuck. Looks like he's yeah, man. Looks like he fucked up big time, man. Looks like he's set to get his ass handed to him again. I don't see anything different happening here than probably what happened, except maybe the crowd going loud and or the crowd being a lot louder for Rodrigo since he's Brazilian. They're in Brazil, and once the place is gonna go nuts once they exchange a little bit. Find out Dontel has 0 cardio, 0 takedown defense. It goes down like a redwood tree and then, gets choked out within 2 seconds. I think even before he puts his forearm under his chin, he's like, yeah, fuck this, I'm tapping out.
Which round do you have it?
Probably round 1. I don't think Dontel has even 2 minutes of cardio.
All right, let's move on since it's we're about an hour and 40 minutes and I don't want to edit that much. Co-main event, Gabriel Bonfim. Yes, the older, no, he's a younger brother of the other Bonfim, I believe, versus Nicholas Dalby, Danish Dynamite. So this Bonfim minus 395, come back on Dalby plus 300. So I think this this Bonfim is pretty accurate with his line. If he does what he should, right? If he is who we think he is, who the line says he is, who his record says he is, should be able to finish Dalby lickety split. But Dalby, as much as I dislike the guy, mainly because he is what we like to call a fruity booty. If you ever seen his Instagram, which I do not advise you check, he's a little suspicious. That's code for possibly a homosexual. But Danish Dynamite. Here's the thing, and I'll keep it quick. Bonfim is ridiculously talented. He is a nasty submission artist, right? Like he's got a disgusting guillotine, right? He jumps for guillotines like it would make Dustin Poirier cream his pants. How good his guillotine is, right? He's gotten it twice, and I mean, he has gotten it twice in the UFC. So what he should do here is number one, respect Dalby. You have to respect Dalby because Dalby is one of these fighters that no matter how old he gets, he's a very cerebral fighter and he knows how to point fight. Like if you blow your wad against Dalby, he's gonna beat your ass. And that's gonna be absolutely embarrassing, right? And I can see that happen to Bonfim here, where he doesn't take him seriously. He expects him to go down. He thinks he's going to be able to pull guillotine, but Dalby sneaks his head out, and then you're on bottom for a bit, and you're attacking, and then Dalby just gets up, and then he pitter patters you to win possibly the first round. It might even be a split round where one judge gives it to Dalby, and the other two give it to you, being Bonfim. So what happens at that point? If Bonfim has maybe blown his wad early in the first round, Nicholas Dalby is going to be able to just pitter patter his way to a shitty decision here. That's what I'm most worried about. Realistically, though, if Gabriel comes in here, not like he's fought in his last few fights, we put a ton of pressure on, like too much pressure. Like he is good at applying the pressure, and his striking is it's adequate. It is solid, right? When he is cerebral about his striking, he's going to put a nice jab out there. He's going to throw some hooks, but I think that his defense is a little lacking overall. And I feel as if he doesn't try to take it to the ground and dominate Dalby there, he's going to have some trouble on the feet. Not a whole ton. Not to say that he can't knock out Dalby. Dalby's been knocked out by 155ers in the past and choked out by a 155er, which would have been Jesse Ronson. It's not official, but it's official in my book because I remember it happening. So Bonfim should be able to get the submission, possibly the knockout, but I worry so much about him trying to get it so quick and so early and him not getting it. Like he's gotten it twice. He's undefeated. My biggest issue with him is I don't know where his headspace is at. If he's going out here thinking he's, fucking the co-main event, he's top shit, and he's fighting a 38-year-old Nicholas Dalby, and he doesn't get that early submission or the early finish, I think he's got issues coming for him, right? Not to say that I think he's going to gas out if he doesn't go for it, if it just becomes a striking battle where he can't get Dalby down. I also worry that Dalby is good enough to outpoint him. I'm going to take Bonfim. I'm going to predict he continues getting that submission in the first round, but I think he's going to have to do it a little bit more cerebral. But I want to see more from Gabriel Bonfim because his last few fights, it's just been too easy where he jumps for the guillotine, and it's such a good maneuver that we feel like we're kind of getting gypped on him, right? We don't know how good he is. I'll pick him to win still, but this line, I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, the betting odds, you know, Bonfim is probably, it's most likely going to win, but the betting, actually betting on him, not great, either solo or parlay because, these big favorites, it's like when you're like, yeah, you know what? He's a big favorite. He's going to fucking win. I'm going to add him to the parlay, and then boom, guess the fuck what?
Yeah, he's the
He
one.
gets rear naked. He gets rear naked choked, and then your parlay goes down the fucking line, down the toilet, whatever. So this one's, one to be very wary of, be very careful of. I would say stay away from it just because the betting odds aren't all that great. I mean, I'm going with Bonfim as well. He'll probably manhandle Nicholas Dalby, which, Nicholas is looking forward to anyway. Um, and, again, Bonfim has youth on his side because He's 12 years younger, and he's a little bit taller actually. So yeah, it looks like he's really set to take over here. But yeah, it's funny thing. It's the super like it says moderate favorite there, but to me that's like a pretty goddamn heavy favorite. Anything over three,
Mhm.
and everything over like two something is like to me that's like oh shit, they're pretty big favorite. And like minus to me at this point minus 400, minus 500, minus 600, there's way no difference. Once you go
Yeah.
over minus 300, it's like shit, it's pretty steep. So betting wise, I'd say stay away from it. Odds aren't great. Even if you won, be like, oh shit, underdog plus 300, fuck yeah. No, it's not good to go either way. I'm going with Bonfim with a rear naked choke third round, but
Would you
it's
would you bet him by submission or by inside the distance, depending on what the odds are? Because I don't have the odds on submission, but my guess would be that it would be maybe minus 150.
I'd say
That's
inside the distance.
inside
Inside the
distance.
distance, just because you don't really know is Dalby going to be all of a sudden a fucking uh, you know, anti-submission ace. It's like
Mm.
are like all submissions going to fail, or is he just not going to tap, or whatever. Could be any number of things. I mean, I do think he will get him by submission, um, because I think that's going to get him the biggest pop and the biggest.
Oha,
Um,
opa, or no, what is it? Opa, boha.
yeah, it's going to get him the biggest pop and the biggest, everything from the Brazilian crowd. Um, But yeah, betting wise, not really a good spot to bet. I would say stay away from it altogether.
Right. Final fight, heavyweight bout, main event. Ailton Almeida versus the Black Beast Derrick Lewis. Almeida minus 500 heavy favorite compared to the plus 380 for Black Beast Lewis. So no secret as to what's going to happen in this fight. One of two things: Almeida by ground and pound submission, possibly, and or Derrick Lewis by fucking ridiculously vicious knockout. Now, to me, those odds on Derrick Lewis at heavyweight always deliciously juicy, right? And this is a tough fight for him. But a couple things about Derrick Lewis that we don't know or haven't highlighted. Number one, jiu-jitsu doesn't always work on the motherfucker. He just gets up, and it's always been surprising. On top of that, Almeida, he always telegraphs his takedowns, but almost always, I would say maybe 90% of the time, they're going to be effective. Biggie Boy, his last fight, Rosenstrike, he defended one of the takedowns, but then Almeida just kind of shot in like a sloppy ankle pick, and then he got him down, beat his ass. Derrick Lewis is so unpredictable, and on top of that, he's been in good shape as of late. His last fight, he decimated God, De Lima, he flying kneed him, knocked him the fuck out. He had abs. He also changed his music. So I don't know if you're into that whole like, well, shit, maybe this is a new trend for Black Beast, but he's no longer coming out the Fat Pat's top drop. So maybe that's a good sign for the guy. This is for me, it's just a bias pick. I'm going to take Derrick Lewis by knockout in the first round. Realistically, the under 1.5 is probably the best option here. We know Almeida's going to try to get it to the ground. He probably will get a submission. Those odds indicate that he should, right? But if I'm being honest with this fight, Almeida, he's a buff, he's a tall 205er, right? It's just that and he's not wrong for doing this, decided if I go up to heavyweight, beat the shit out of these lesser fucking skilled heavyweights, I can get to a title shot or I can get ranked faster. And he did. He had a very easy route to being number 7 in the world. But now he's fighting Derrick Lewis, right? Where he has the athleticism to catch him with the flying knee. He can catch him with an uppercut. And just because he can, I'm willing to bet the guy. I'm willing to take him to win. No logic behind it. I'm a big fan of Derrick Lewis. Guy's fucking cool. I've met the guy in person. Really nice guy. Really fucking nice guy. Obviously funny. So I want to see him win. But the reason I'm going with Lewis is that I do believe there is a chance he can get a massive upset here, and especially at those odds. I will be betting Derrick Lewis. I'm not sure how much I'm going to bet on him, but the smart money should be maybe the under because it covers you if Derrick Lewis does get that upset. And also on top of that, Hamilton Almeida gets on top of him, submits him, ground and pounds him. Lewis didn't look great against Sergey Spivak, but I think in this particular case, because Almeida is going to make it incredibly obvious what he wants to do, he's not going to strike with Lewis. He's not even going to attempt anything. He's just going to rush in for one takedown. If he gets it, call my bet a loss. But if he doesn't get it and he gets this, then fuck it. I have a chance there that Derrick Lewis is going to be doing the my balls is hot promo again. So I'll go with Derrick Lewis round number 1. Very, very biased pick though. So what do you think?
I'm also going with Derrick Lewis. I mean,
right on. Let's do it.
Jalton's path to victory, like heavy favorite. Holy shit! This is another one to be very wary of. Because heavy favorite, man, Derrick Lewis. He's been in this spot before. Guys that were gonna outbox him, guys that were gonna submit him. Jalton's best hope for victory here is that, like, Derrick Lewis gets like a bad bucket of KFC or something before the fight. Like I don't know, man. I see a TKO happening here, definitely. I want to say maybe the second, maybe the third round, if it gets that far. No later than the third round. If it goes beyond that, then Lewis might be in trouble for sure. It's very possible. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what kind of cardio he's working on, but he's first, second round TKO for sure. Third possible, still possible, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But more likely, higher chance than first. It's like, how do I put it? It's like 70%, no. I would say like 50% chance, no, not even that. Like maybe 60% chance of a knockout in the first, then maybe it goes to like, 30% in the second and like 10% in the third, I would say. It drops significantly round by round because, but man, I think he's got, I think he's going to get another W here, even though he had a bad streak with Ty, Sergey and, Sergey twice. Shit. Okay.
Double Sergey.
He got double Sergeyed.
Well, the thing is, he is taking it on short notice. The fact that he accepted the bout makes me think, like, what is the most Derrick Lewis thing for him to do? Instead of waiting for Almeida to shoot that takedown, what if he just bum rushes him, pushes him up against the cage? Because he's a fucking strong dude. And if he can get at least an underhook and keep Almeida up, he's going to be blasting him. So there's always that chance for that black beast blitz that we know of. If he gets it off on Almeida, like Almeida's been knocked out before. And again, he is not a true heavyweight. I think he is very smartly going up the heavyweight and beating shitty competition. And realistically, he is more skilled than Derrick Lewis. He's got more skills on the ground. On the feet, he's not terrible, but like on the feet, you're playing with ridiculously bad fire with Derrick Lewis. So I am hoping that Derrick says like 100% fuck this. Like, I'm not going to go out on his terms. I'm going to go out on my fucking terms. I'm going to beat the fucking piss out of him until he takes me down or until the ref stops me. You know what I mean? So if the ref stops him in between that, like I can even picture Almeida ducking for a takedown and Derrick just kneeing the shit out of him. And they call it a legal blow because, just because he's a kneed opponent or a grounded opponent is, I think they would let it slide. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's a lot of danger in there for Almeida as to like Derrick Lewis being like super athletic. So I want to see that like kamikaze Derrick Lewis #1 round just beating the shit out of Almeida and Almeida just being like, oh, fuck, what did I do? Because Derrick is this weird anomaly that you get a wild card with him where if he wants to fucking beat the shit out of you, like he did to Diakiese, like just went out there and beat the fucking shit out of Diakiese. I think he can do it to Almeida, who is, I don't want to call him a one-trick pony, but at heavyweight, he is that one-trick pony. We know what he's going to do. We know what he wants. And if he can get it, then props to him. Like he got it on Derrick Lewis. But if Derrick can defend it for a decent amount of time, or if he doesn't even give him the chance to shoot, just beat the fucking shit out of him until you give up your back or something. You know what I mean? Like knowing that Derrick Lewis's chances are kind of slim makes him really fucking dangerous, I think, because if he knows, like, hey, if he takes me down, I'm fucked, might as well just go out there and whip his ass, flying knee his ass like he did to Lima. So I think because of that little X factor, I'm willing to take and roll the dice on that plus 380 on Derrick Lewis.
Yeah, this one's man, if you hit that, if to go even further than that, if you bet on the what is it, Derrick Lewis TKO prop, that's definitely going to put you over the plus 400 mark.
I would hope so. Shit, if I do TKO round number 1.
Oh shit, yeah, that's pretty laser guide. It's a laser guided missile, man. If that hits, that's pretty good.
I would hope so. But yeah, those have been our predictions for this card, the Sao Paulo, Brazil card, Almeida versus Lewis. Yeah, like, share, subscribe, whatever. You have any additional comments before we go, Jose?
No, it's just good to be back. I mean, a little strange, feel a little bit out of water. Like Derrick Lewis, I jumped in kind of last minute, and just gave my prediction based on the little bit of info I had on the card, just because I haven't been following MMA for a bit. But yeah, I mean,
what's funny is that if Sodiq Yusuff can give an unprofessional breakdown, what's stopping you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's been again Johnny and Jose, TigerBomb MMA. We'll catch you next week.